Alright, inauguration. This happens every 4 years after we elect someone who says that they're going to change the ways of what's going on, but it seems to be that we keep on rocking in the same boat and in the same lane. But how could this be? We got candidates running, don't even know how to be humble, to live the life. Our stomachs are grumbling. Like I said last time, we're eating ramen noodles, and Rami doesn't even know about that life. I got tired of these politicians trying to speak up for me and my people. They don't know the struggle and rise because people keep jumping over 225s. While he's getting the rise going everywhere, he's trying to tell me exactly what it was. I got tired of people trying to tell me that this black man was going to change the world, but these people fail to realize that senators make the laws. Don't you guys see and fail to realize what's going on in between the lies? Politicians, the biggest thing is closest to religion, because it seems to be the things that we're supposed to come together and rejoice in, and we're supposed to make our peace and make things more clear, but it seems to be we always get into arguments and everything seems to fall into a whole notion of confusion. I got tired of this. It's funny to me because they do all of these devilish things, but they put their hand on the Bible on the day of inauguration. Isn't that crazy to be? I'd rather you. Yes.
Off the top of the head.
I'd rather for you to put your hand on the Constitution because it's already written up, formed up lies, so you'll be added to your whole new Bible of the Constitution. This contradiction that we live walking on here telling me that I'm an American, but yet I can get the same rights as a Mexican crossing the border. That's the test. They keep on telling me that black people are the only people struggling here in America, that we're the ones swiping our ways for these EBTs and everything that we're looking for the SNAP program, but put it to the test. I've been looking up numbers and research, and it seems like white people have been the highest quotas for this whole thing. It's the best. They seem to make their first appointments to walk into these places, try to get their first benefits, but when they look us down while we're struggling, we made... Ooh, y'all throwing me off. I remember being in my class, in my history class, 3rd grade, reading my textbook and only finding out that we only had one section. God damn, isn't that rude? I thought for them to tell me that Africa and Egypt was in 2 different places, these fucking foolish people, but they trying to teach me the history of my rule and dictation. I can't dissect that all, dude. My mother used to always tell me, you be on time for class and be late to leave, because I was the one talking to the teacher, re-educating her too, on why we disagreed. I got tired of reading categorized textbooks in my textbooks trying to tell me that there was a difference between black people and African Americans. Come on now. I thought we all had the same root and dictation of everything what it was. White people always want to seem to get the same complexion that we have. Doesn't it seem to be crazy to me, right? They always seem to be the first people to judge. I realized when my first white friend was Adam and he had blue eyes, such a big contradiction, I thought that I could trust him, but as soon as my other black friends came around, he always questioned what was going on around him too. He looked shook just as much as he did too. And I didn't understand, you see, white people, they can always be your friend, but there'll always be a snake underneath it too. My mother said, you always watch out with people lighter than you because they'll never understand the struggle of you. I started to appreciate the oil of it. This will be the last piece that I leave you with so we can move on to the next great thing. But like I said, being black is beautiful, just as rich as oil. You take it with joy, it's a whole new thing of royalty because everybody wants to be just like you. Yes. They say there's a time and a place for everything, a place and a time for everything. This has to be the most pigmented lie that our mother has told me since I was a child, believing in Santa Claus. Dear Mom, if there was a time and a place for everything, you tell me where there was a time for you to leave me. To leave a daughter to be motherless, I couldn't understand this because you were wandering on New York's lost beaches, playing with clear pipes and white rocks and not from the beach's shores. I do detest that you was living in New Jack City by night, but by day you were teaching children like me, myself, and I. If there was a time and a place for everything, a place and a time for all of these things, dear Dad, I write to you. Because if there was a time and a place for this, then there would be a time where I would feel comfortable in calling you my father, that I would address you as the man that you should be, but playing along with it, I realized that you were just a little boy playing around in a grown man's suit that did not suit you.
Oh.
Yes.
Are you telling my story, girl?
My mother always told me to be wary of those men who like to dress up in costumes. They look at themselves twice in the mirror. You see, because men looking at them twice in themselves in the mirror is like a little boy shaking his penis twice. See, now you're just playing with yourself.
I look more.
If there was a time and a place for everything, a place and a time for all of these things, dear Mom, there would not have been a time where you and my friend, instead of being my mother, I was only 10 years old when you robbed me of my childhood. This was the last time I remember running after the Mr. Soft wealthy truck and feeling like I could really run free outside of the world, but instead, I was a 10-year-old child counting my dollars, waiting for my next meals. I was eating one entree meal, and we used to joke about these things with white kids only eating macaroni and cheese for a dinner, and I was only starving just for my next plate of macaroni and cheese. I do detest. I remember the first time grabbing a bunch of nickels trying to send it to you in prison. You did not belong there. I did not understand how you went from someone instructing others to being instructed behind bars. How could this be the reversal of society only because of a misconception of what they said over the phone lines? Because my grandfather had Alzheimer's and they didn't want to register that, but at that time we were in the Commonwealth State, Virginia, where they still have cotton fields to this day.
Still with you niggas.
I'm still a slave to trying to build relationships with my parents, because one is a parent and the other is a father lost astray. He continuously watches TVs and wonder years trying to figure out how he can play his part too, but I wonder exactly how he could treat a woman where he can't even learn how to speak to his daughter. And a true conscience, I remember the words of verbal attacks that we had, the physical fights. I remember the death of me seeing you. I almost lost my life behind bars too. But then I realized never to allow another man to ever verbally push me to content. I knew that's when things started to get a little wary, because my insides started to turn black. I would never remember the little things that I had said to you. These were the times where I didn't understand. If there was a time and a place for everything, you tell me where the fuck this time was for this to happen right here and then. Because as I can recall and recollect, when a parent had a child, you were supposed to hold them to the end. If there was a time and a place for everything, my sister would not have turned into my mother. She would have remained my sibling, someone that I could just look up to instead of catering to me as if she had a child already. She has two of her own now. She already knows what it is to raise one. She feels like that she's never had a chance to live. At the age of 21, she was raising me. At the age of 11, we were only a difference in part, only 10 years of age. You tell me, what was her time for her to be a young teenager too? Their society. If there was a place and a time for everything, a time and a place for all of these things, you tell me where you will leave a lost generation behind. You see these adults, they always want to contradict us. I remember my performance family, we were on a train ride just dropping some positive vibes. Just one black lady just looking at us as if we were wrong. You would have thought we was calling each other niggas and slides, as if we was out there gangbanging on the train. She just kept giving us these evil eyes. Do you remember that, Scott Morris? Evil eyes on the train with Subway series.
Yeah.
If there was a time and a place for everything, you tell me where the time and the place was for you to take out these music programs, because now these kids are going to end up wandering on the streets just like the rest. I feel like it's just a fucking setup, because when I go into suburban area, I see wine stores. When I go back into the hood, I see liquor stores and wine stores, and they're open till 10, while the suburban area, they close at 9. I don't understand. You cater to these people, but to us, you let us feel like it's a luxury, but all the luxury you've given us is truly just the poison, just the pumping in us. I told them I never wanted that type of grain. I always looked for something with more substance in it, and I'm not talking about the alcohol content in it. I got tired of being a fallen victim of my society on both ways. They always said that they wanted me to be in between. I grew out of the theme of the project. I learned what it was to have a home. Dear Mom, if there was a time and a place for everything, I guess you made it here today. Today I graduate high school and you made it. I took that privilege away from the man who was supposed to be my father, because I remember my senior year, he stole my scholarship away. I couldn't believe it. How could you deceive your own seed? You were supposed to bless me. You were supposed to be the soil to lead me. It's funny because, you know, New Jack City, my mother lived, and he was the jack who planted the seed but could never live up to the fulfillment of the growth of everything that he had put on this earth. If there was a time and a place for everything, then these words wouldn't even have to be said, because there would be no time and no place for any type of dictation of these things. I hope that these people learn their lessons, and when they have their children, that they will actually be parents, so that we wouldn't be wandering stray souls lost on these streets. Because I'm battling another generation that's lost within us. They don't want to do anything positive. So if there was a time and a place for everything, you tell me where that time and the place was, and then tell me where Santa Claus came from.